Hello everyone, it's Old Guardian here, and this is Hearthstone Mercenaries Caster's Equipment and Ability Leveling Guide. So when you get a new mercenary, a new caster mercenary in this case, well, what are you going to do? How are you going to turn that into a playable mercenary? Because task changes are pretty easy to get nowadays, so once you complete all of the tasks for a single mercenary, you get enough coins to max one equipment and one ability, or alternatively two abilities, and have a little bit of leftover coins after that. So how do you best spend those coins so that once you get a new mercenary, you do some tasks and then you're ready to roll? The main use of Anduin Wrynn is to go together with Velen. Velen is going to make your holy abilities cast twice, and then Anduin is going to Holy Nova all of the opponents away. So for that purpose, you want your Holy Nova, you want your Harmonic Mallet, and then you want to start working on your Penance, because you have to use Penance on turn 1 anyway. Anduin has also occasionally been useful in PvP with Ring of Purity, but overall, because Anduin is not a big merc in PvP right now, I would just go with this Holy Nova Harmonic Mallet plan to have Anduin available for the PvE Holy comp. Antonidas sees some play in Fire comp, although Antonidas is a little bit old-fashioned option. Belinda, Yulon, Gigi have largely replaced Antonidas. Still, with Antonidas, Syndical Staff, Fireball for that single target damage, and then working on Flame Strike for AoE. Baron Geddon is at the very heart of Fire comp, and for that Fire comp, Baron Geddon has one job. Mark of Conflagration, Inferno, boom boom boom. Baron Geddon very rarely does anything else except for this, and yeah, those abilities, max them and Geddon is good to go. Blinkfox has some curious abilities, and sometimes Blinkfox has been used for some tricks with Mana Blinks or Mind Thieves, but for the most part the use of Blinkfox is Arcane Fling with Arcane Fang, because that is a lot of damage. So max those abilities and equipment first. Brightwing saw play in early versions of Dragon comps, but nowadays Brightwing is not played that much because Nefarian has taken its place. I would max Fairy Breath first, and then Pixie Dust, and then probably go for the Pixie's Pouch equipment. Bru'kan is a central mercenary in various nature comps because of this ability, Lightning Bolt, gain +3 nature damage. A way to ramp your nature damage, and that is just really strong. For Bru'kan, I would work on Lightning Bolt first, get Lightning Rod equipment to max, then start putting points into Chain Lightning, and after those, finally Muddy Footing. Captain Hooktusk is an interesting mercenary that can change the roles of other mercenaries, and therefore make your comp stronger against your opponents. Cutthroat Negotiation is a great ability, but it doesn't come much better when you actually upgrade it, so you can leave it up as it is at the start. Just max Turnabout Strike, max Shivatar Timbers. You can max these two abilities first. Jolly Roger is generally the best equipment, but you can put points in that after you have the abilities maxed. Gigi can be a strong healer and a strong damage dealer, because as you ramp heal power with Gigi, well, your heals get better and your damage also from Firestorm gets better. So with Gigi you want to max your Blazing Song and you want to max your Blazing Band, so that you get as much heal power ramp as possible. And then you start to work on your other abilities. Cookie is one of the most used mercenaries in the game, because Cookie can really help you with tasks with his Go Fish ability, but you don't have to upgrade the Go Fish ability for that at all. It's actually better to have it as a weak ability for those tasks sometimes. So for Cookie, you want to max your Fish Feast, and you want to max your Appetizers. Appetizers make Cookie an excellent choice for many comps just sitting on the bench, because start of the game effect give friendly characters +9 health, it just makes all of your characters so much better. Drek'Thar is not one of the most popular orcs, but when Drek'Thar is used for the freeze effect. Max your Blood Frenzy, max your Glacial Blade, so that you will attack, you will give your orcs some attack when you do, and you will freeze your targets. Guff Runetotem is a deceptively simple nature caster, because with Guff Runetotem, like 95% of the time, you use Living Brambles with Brambleton Totem, so max these first. But then every once in a while there's an opportunity to actually Runic Slam into something and give your characters a buff, and a little bit more often than that there's an opportunity to use Iron Bark to gain Taunt and save the day. So Brambles and Brambleton Totem first, and then I would start putting points on Iron Bark, max that one, and then work on Runic Slam. Gul'dan is probably the least used orc right now, sadly, because Gul'dan's abilities are pretty slow. I would max Fellbolt, and I would max Siphon Life, and then I would start working on Amulet of Souls. Jaina Proudmoore is used in Frost comp both in PvE and in PvP, because Jaina has this excellent ability, Ice Flows. Deal damage, gain Frost damage. So a way to ramp your Frost damage. For Jaina, max your Ice Flows, equip your Ice Block Talisman, and then work on Icicle and Water Elemental. Kazakus is a bit of a tricky one to get started with, because Kazakus has a good equipment and 2 good abilities. So ideally you want to have Wildwine maxed, and then build a Golem and Shadow Claws maxed. But when you're starting out you don't have enough coins to do all of this. So I would max Wildwine first, and then use Shadow Claws and build a Golem side by side. Longsing has a very powerful damage ability and then a couple of trickster type abilities. So Celestial Breath, very strong damage ability. So you want to max Celestial Breath first. That's clear. But then the order of the next things that you do, that's a little bit less clear. I would probably just start upgrading these pretty much equally. Lorewalker Cho has multiple good pieces of equipment and good abilities depending on how you're using him. Cho Family Heirloom and Stash of Scrolls are both viable for different purposes, and Knowledge, Patience and Wisdom all play their part. I would probably go for Knowledge, Patience and Stash of Scrolls first, to get those good minion synergies upgraded first. Maestra has multiple useful abilities, mostly for PvP, not so much for PvE. Mask of Mimicry is the equipment of choice, and then Dirty Tricks and Shifting Strike are your most important abilities. Millhouse Manastorm is the only starter mech that can do proper AoE with Arcane Explosion. Deal 13 damage to all enemies. So you want to max your Arcane Explosion, you want to max your Arcane Powder, then you want to work on your Arcane Bolt, and finally your Greater Arcane Missiles. Morgl the Oracle can have a couple of different uses. Thanks to Morgl Smith, Murloc Missile buffs all friendly characters. Morgl can be put in various nature comps, even ones that don't have Murlocs in them. If you use Morgl in a Murloc comp, then Spiky Pufferfish is typically better. But you want to max your Murloc Missile first anyway, no matter which equipment you use, and again then get to work on Fishy Barrage and Healing Wave, and if you use it in a Murloc comp, your Spiky Pufferfish. There are 2 ways to use Natalie Seline. Either use Natalie Seline so that you can alternate between Anathema and Benediction, or use Natalie Seline with Shadow Beams, Anathema with Eye of Shadow to buff up their damage. The more common way is just to use Anathema and Benediction, so Splinter of Nordrassil, it's already level 4 when you get it, so you can just max your Anathema, you can max your Shadow Beam, and then you can start working on your Light Beam. And if you want to switch equipment at some point, Eye of Shadow is the other alternative equipment. Eye of Divinity is not really used. For Nezot, the best equipment is Eternal Torment, passive at the start of each turn, deal 4 shadow damage to all enemies, so you want to start by maxing your Eternal Torment and maxing your Spawn of Nezot, and then move on to the other abilities. Onyxia currently has 1 job, and that job is to serve in Dragon Comp sometimes to remove taunt minions. So for that purpose, Insolent Mortals and Razor Sharp Claws, max these first before you move to the other abilities. Patches can be phenomenal in Pirate Comps, and that's all thanks to this piece of equipment, Arms Locker. Passive, whenever a friendly pirate attacks, give it +5 attack. You really want to max your Arms Locker first, then you want to max your Eye Matey, and then you work on your Eye Captain. The main use of Prophet Velen is to use Velen's Blessing, either in Holy Comp or just to complete some tasks. Gain +3 holy damage, your next holy ability casts twice, and this stacks. So the first time you cast it, then the second time you cast it, it casts twice, the third time you cast it, it casts 3 times, as long as you haven't cast any other holy abilities in between. It gets pretty crazy at times. So you want to work on your Velen's Blessing, and you want to get Velen's Blessing at least rank 4, so that you can combine that with Anduin's Holy Nova. And then you can start working on Holy Blast and your Tome of Inspiration. And finally, your Splitting Light. By far the best piece of equipment for Queen Azshara is Xaladat. It turns Queen Azshara into Malfurion of Nature Comp only for Shadow. So max your Xaladat, then get to work on Shifting Tides, Vainglorious Rebuke and Mage Paramount. Reno Jackson doesn't really have any good equipment for PvE, but Reno does have a great PvP equipment in Treasure Inspector, so if you're into PvP, you want to upgrade that one. For PvE purposes, that's my treasure. Getting that to 5 and Dazzling Flexi and Gatling 1 to 3 would be kind of ideal, because that's my treasure upgrades the most for each rank, whereas Dazzling Flexi and Gatling 1, they go higher by 3 and then a little bit less after that. The main job of Sky Admiral Rogers is to hit into targets and gain a lot of attack. So Sky Guard, Swashbuckling Sash. Max these 2 and then get to work on your firing position. Tamsin Roame can ramp up your shadow damage, but not very effectively because the ability has a cooldown, and also it doesn't deal any damage when you ramp up that damage. So Tamsin Roame, Shadow Bolt is useful, Veil of Shadows useful, Shadow Rune is good. That's pretty much the way to play with her. Uther currently sees more play in PvP than in PvE. For PvE purposes, Gleaming Pauldrons is the best piece of equipment, but for PvP it's Libram of Sacrifice. So choose one or the other depending on which game mode you're preparing Uther for. Uther is an old merc, so upgrading all the abilities equally will give you the best bang up to level 3 and then a little bit more improvement for level 4 and level 5. Varden Dawngrasp is used in both PvE and PvP, but in little different ways. For PvE, you want Potion of Ice, but for PvP, you would want Chilling Amulet instead. Either way, upgrade your Flurry, upgrade your Cold Snap, then work on your equipment. Vol'jin has one job, and that is to make your shadow abilities faster, so Ring of Haste is your choice of equipment and you want that maxed as soon as possible. Other than that, all the abilities upgrade more to rank 3 and then a little bit less at 4 and 5, so you can upgrade all of them quite equally. Xyrella is one of your strongest starter mercs, because Xyrella is used in Cariel Samuro Xyrella to activate your Samuro. And in order to activate your Samuro, you need to use Blinding Luminance, so you really want to max your Blinding Luminance and you want to max your Radiant Wand, and then you can start to work on your Flash Heal and Atonement. Yogg-Saron is a bit of a one-trick pony at the moment. You want to max your Lunatic Gaze, you want to max your Piercing Gaze, and that's pretty much what Yogg-Saron is doing. For Zar'jira, the Sea Witch, you want the Upstart Acolyte equipment, and you want Witch's Curse and Freezing Touch. Those are the main ability and equipment upgrade priorities for all caster mercenaries. I hope that this video will help you get started with caster mercs and get them right into action. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content, please click the like button, subscribe to my channel, and check out my Twitch channel.